here we are. We're live. I'm T. Krulos.
And I'm Heidi Erickson.
This is our last episode of season 3. We're gonna
Yeah.
we're gonna be doing a Krampus music special, and then we're gonna take a little bit of a break, and we'll be back early next year.
Next year. How
Well,
the
far away.
oh how did we get through the whole
Yeah.
whoa. That's 2021, you guys. That's a wrap. We did it. We did
Yeah,
it.
but remember, like everyone was so glad when 2020 was over. And then
Right.
we're like, nothing could be more messed up than 2020. And then we got into
Yeah.
2021, and it's like, it seems to be getting worse.
Yeah, 2021 came out swinging for sure. But to be fair, it had a lot to live up to. 2020 left some big shoes to fill. 2021 came ready to fucking play. They came for the pennant. Yeah, but we made it. Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
We're fine, right?
It's okay. We're fine.
It's okay. We're fine. Have a cookie. Everything's good.
But, so I had a very interesting two or 3 days up in Lake Winnebago. So we're, by the way, if you're tuning in the show and you don't know, me and Heidi live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Mhm.
Lake Winnebago's, about an hour or so drive north of here.
Yeah.
I was there working on a magazine article that will be published in the February Milwaukee Magazine. Is a publication that I write for pretty frequently, I would say. So the heart of the story is there's a very unusual situation in Lake Winnebago specifically, which is anyone who gets a license is allowed to ice fish, but specifically they must spearfish, and they're trying to catch the elusive sturgeon, which is this weird, very ancient prehistoric fish
Right.
that has outlived the dinosaurs and the ice age. It almost did not survive humans because their caviar is very desirable. So in the early 1900s, they were severely overfished. And even today, there about 25 out of 27 species of sturgeon are almost extinct. So there's an unusual situation like Winnebago where you are allowed to spearfish for them. You can capture one per season. They monitor the count very closely. So it's a season that's 15 days long, or when they hit the cap on the number of fish, then they
Sure.
shut it down. You can do whatever you want with your sturgeon. You can eat it. You can take the eggs, if they have eggs, and get it made into caviar. However, you can't sell or barter the fish eggs or the caviar that is
Sure.
made from them. So, earlier this year, some people, including a couple people that work with the Department of Natural Resources, they got in trouble because they were kind of bartering with the sturgeon caviar. And
Kind of
so,
what?
yeah, I mean, it's a weird thing. They weren't selling it. What they would do is like they would take it to a caviar processor, and they would give that processor some of the caviar in exchange for the service of turning the eggs into caviar.
Sounds legit.
And then they would, they wouldn't sell it to people. They would bring it to like DNR staff meetings. Everyone was eating caviar at these meetings, or Bob's Bar is having a potluck. They would bring caviar.
That's
But
super funny to me to think of them at like Bob's Bar drinking hams and eating this
yeah, no,
like like sturgeon caviar is like $1,000 a pound or
yeah,
something
yeah,
outrageous
yeah,
like that,
yeah.
and then they're just like eating it on chili cheese Fritos or some shit.
Yes, exactly,
There's
exactly.
probably some awful up north recipe that involves mayonnaise and like some form of hot dish and also this $1,000 a pound sturgeon caviar because they get it once a year from their friend Dave who works for the DNR.
That's one of the things that I love about the story is the contrast. Okay, if you go to a fancy restaurant, they will serve you caviar. You need a special mother of pearl spoon to eat it with
Yeah.
because any other spoon will ruin the taste.
Yeah.
Served with champagne and
Yeah. You gotta
like
you
you
gotta
say,
wash your ass first and everything.
is right, exactly. Like you say, it's very expensive. But in Lake Winnebago, yeah, the tradition there is they just dump some on a Ritz cracker with a little blob of cream cheese, and then they wash it down with a Miller or a Coors.
Très magnifique.
And they have so much they don't know what to do with it. You
Oh
know?
man, we should go to there and eat it right now. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a huge caviar fan, but I would try it just to say it had been done for sure. As long as they don't put
Yeah.
ketchup on it, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Let's
And
do
we
it.
we could totally go. And they can it's their caviar, so they could give it to someone. They just can't expect a service or item in return for it.
Well, I think that I have people on Lake Winnebago, I have folks up there.
Hmm.
And I think that as someone who has done the traditional drunken midnight swim in Lake Winnebago and lived to tell the tale, I think that I am entitled to a certain amount of sturgeon caviar on. I'll even bring the Ritz crackers. I don't care. I'm cool with
Um,
that.
I also found out about an event that sounds super fun, actually. Every year during the spearfishing season, Fond du Lac has an event called the Sturgeon Spectacular,
Yeah.
and it's everything that you would want in a winter Wisconsin festival. They have a curling tournament,
Nice.
they have a pub crawl and a chili contest.
Oh, chili
Uh,
contest. I wonder if any of it has caviar in it.
no, no, no. They have a lot, like they have bowling, but they do it out in the frozen lake.
Sure.
And I love this. They have a parade that's called the Running of the Sturgeon, and I talked to the guy who organizes this event, and he has a sturgeon costume, which is amazing in itself. And he wears this costume and he runs down the street, and a mob of children armed with plastic toy tridents chase after him, trying to spear him.
Exquisite. Absolutely exquisite. Wow. I would love to be 2 shots of Jaeger and 3 Schlitzes in on the ice, having just like absolutely the best time of my life eating $1,000 caviar off of a Ritz cracker and like Uncle Otto's chili in a cup and like watching this lunatic run down the street in a fish costume while little kids chase after him with sticks. That sounds
uh,
fucking amazing.
I
Woo!
love it. We should go. It's
Let's
hey, look,
go.
I got the pamphlet right here.
When is
You
it?
can't see it. It's February 11th through the 13th in
Oh
Fond
my
du Lac.
gosh. I love this so we're going, T. We're
All right.
going.
All
I'm
right.
in. I'm super in. Well, like we've been talking about this before because ice fishing is one of those things that's it's very iconic to Wisconsin and to like Michigan and places. I guess Michigan, I guess to any place where the water freezes over the Great Lakes. But people who go ice fishing are they're a very special breed of people, very
Yeah.
interesting people.
Yeah.
And I have my whole life, I have dreamed of going from shanty to shanty in the middle of the night and
Yeah.
knocking on the door like Mary Lude. Ah, yes, because I get to be the Mary Lude in the Krampus Not Fair parade. And I'm very, very excited about this because I've always wanted to be the Mary Lude. You go door to shanty to shanty and you just like bring a bottle of whatever. Powers probably would be sufficient. Apple brandy would be real classy, blackberry brandy. And you just offer people a shot in exchange for the weirdest thing they've ever seen on the ice. And I guarantee you every single one of those stories is going to be a banger. I just I just really
Yeah.
want to sit in a shack with somebody and have that story. And
Yeah.
then I guess get up the next day hungover and go down to the fucking sturgeon run. Man, that sounds like a hell of a some people want to go to Milan. Not me. I want to go to
uh,
Fond du Lac.
no, no, yeah, it's really unique, like in the world. It's a very unique thing, and there's thousands of people who go out on Lake Winnebago during the season, and like you
Yeah.
say, they all bring shanties, so it's like this
Hmm.
miniature fishing village appears for 2 weeks on
Yeah.
frozen Lake Winnebago.
It looks very Scandinavian. Like it feels very
Yeah.
Scandinavian for sure. And like somebody's wife will always have made hot pot and like, the same like casserole dish from 1957 will be passed around the entire lake and somehow still make it back to the guy who brought it because everybody knows it's Nancy's potluck, whatever.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a beautiful scenario. It's a really quite nice. And then you have the sturgeon widows who are charming people. I distinctly remember working in a diner as a teenager and being in the bar, like sitting down with the sturgeon widows whose husbands were out on the lake. And man, let me tell you, they can knock them back. Those sturgeon widows could.
Yeah.
And they got plenty of stories to tell too. Yeah, it's remarkable. I think we should definitely go do it. Like there's something so charming and weird and like there's this new genre, I guess, of no, it's not new. There's a genre of horror that is known as Nordic noir, which
Mm,
is very about like the particular things that are creepy about and creepy to people who live someplace where sometimes the sun is only up 3 hours a day for half the year, and there's ice, but also volcanoes randomly and trolls and shit like that. And
yeah.
a lot of people from Wisconsin are of Scandinavian extraction. That's just a thing. And you can really see it in those kind of like wintry festivals where they're like, oh yeah, they're here. We're
Yeah.
just gonna take
Yeah.
our spears and go out on the lake and I'll meet you back. I'll meet you back at the bar. Like there's just
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like it's charming and whimsical, but also like you could definitely see these people like skipping off to the forest to go fight trolls and gnomes. Yep, yep.
Yeah, the accents were very thick in the people I talked to. One
No
guy
doubt.
was telling me about something and he kept saying it over and over again. I was like, he was saying it sounded to me like Battle de Bagel, and I was like, what the fuck is this guy talking? What the hell is a Battle de Bagel? And
Bago, Lake Winnebago.
yes, and then when he said it like 5 times, he was saying Battle in Bago is
Yeah,
the name of an ice fishing tournament.
yeah, sure
I
is.
was like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fun
But
fact: my dog's name is actually Winnebago, um, and that's what we call him. We call him Bago, and the reason his name is Winnebago is because when my son named that dog, we lived on Lake Winnebago, and that's where we would go spend weekends in the summer. Oh, Bagel, come on, you got to get to the Bagel. You got to get out there. I love this
well,
plan so much. This is so I feel charmed. I feel festive and a holiday about the entire thing, and I think we should do it as soon as possible.
yeah, yeah. Well, we gotta go during spearfishing season.
Right.
So everyone listening, meet us at the Sturgeon Spectacular. It's February 11th through the
Oh
13th.
my God, they would
Um,
hate that so much if just a bunch of assholes from Milwaukee just descended on Lake Winnebago during spearfishing season. Oh, they'd be so put out. But I think that we could
we're
probably sneak a couple people in
yeah,
there.
no, we're all gonna go undercover. We're gonna
Yeah,
wear camo gear
yeah,
and orange hats, and
yeah.
no one will know.
There used to be a place there in Fond du Lac called Flamingos. Flamingos was the 24-hour diner that you couldn't really tell if it was supposed to be Mexican food or Asian
Oh,
food or Greek food. It all kind of tasted the same and it was all spelled the same on the menu. And that's where you went when you were like growing up in that area because the fuck else were you gonna do with your time? But after spearfishing, like Flamingos was lit, dude. Like we'll have to hang out at Flamingos at like 2 o'clock in the morning because that would be a laugh
nice.
riot. Just don't order the guacamole. It's not
Oh,
guacamole.
it's
It's not.
it's a it's
There's
an
never
up
been
north version of guacamole.
there's never been an
Uh,
avocado anywhere near that restaurant for sure. But yeah, that sounds super fun. We should do her. We should do her. We should do her
yeah,
up.
yeah. We'll work on our Scotty accents and go up there.
Oh yeah, I got her.
Okay, well, today I always forget about this, or some years I forget about this, some years I don't. Today happens to be, next to Krampus Nacht, maybe one of my favorite holidays. And I made a banner for it. Where is it? Here we go. DB Cooper Day. Today marks the 50-year anniversary of a guy who maybe got away with it. The legendary DB Cooper,
Oh,
whoever he is, wherever he is, if he's still alive,
I
nobody
hope he
really
is.
knows.
I hope DB
But
Cooper is still alive. I hope so.
if you're not familiar with this story, um, you know, you got to read up on it. It's just such an incredible true story. So on this day, November 24th, 50 years ago, a guy walks into the airport. Airport security 50 years ago was pretty light.
Yeah.
People, all they did was they actually just wrote their name on a piece of paper when they bought their ticket. So he actually wrote the name Dan Cooper, but there was a mistranslation of that, and people thought that he had written DB Cooper. He gets on a plane. This is in Washington. I can't remember if he started the trip in Washington or Oregon.
No, yeah, I
But
thought it was Washington.
he gets on the plane. He's wearing sunglasses. He's got a clip-on tie, and he's got a bag with him. He calls a flight attendant over and asks her to sit down. He shows her what appears to be a bomb and says, "I've got a bomb. You need to tell the pilots to land this plane. They need to get me 2 bags with $200,000 in cash," which is, pretty good amount of money 50 years
50
ago.
years ago. Yeah.
So they do that, and then he instructs them that he asks for a specific type of plane, which is one of the few clues in this case. Um, he asks them to fly to Mexico, but when they're over the area near Vancouver, Washington, this special plane had like a cargo drop in the back. He activated that. Oh, besides the money, he also asked for a parachute. So he activates the cargo hold. He jumps out of the airplane while it's flying with his bags full of cash and his parachute and disappears into the night. There's been very few clues about this. But here's some interesting ones. A few years later, they found some of the cash near a river in Washington. Not all of it,
Really?
but some of it, which had maybe flown out of the bag while he was sailing through the air.
Hmm.
They found his clip on tie. And this is why technology is so amazing. They analyzed the tie and they found a chemical on it that would only be found in an airplane factory.
What?
So it's suspected that he had a pretty good knowledge of airplanes, which
Yeah,
is why he requested the special one. And that was probably because he worked in a military airplane facility.
sure, sure. That makes sense.
But other than that, like there is a whole niche of people who this is what they do. They analyze every clue in this case because they're trying to crack this mystery, but nobody has.
Didn't they say a couple? I mean, this has actually happened a couple of times, but I know like 3 or 4 years ago, there was some big hullabaloo because they were like, we have definitively figured out who DB Cooper actually was. And like they said, it was some celebrity or something like I don't remember what it was.
There's always people, that are researching this, and it's kind of like some of your more mysterious Zodiac killer type of unsolved
Sure.
mysteries. People research it, they want to write a book, and they say, "Here's my theory. This is who this guy is." But a lot of times, the proof is not really definitive. Like it's a good theory, it could be true, but until you find something really solid, it's just kind of a theory.
Who was your
So,
favorite theory, though? Who was your favorite theory of who DB Cooper was? There have been a couple.
I don't. I'm not really familiar with like the names or who the people are supposed to be, but yeah, I don't know. My information could be outdated because people scrutinize this so closely. I might not be up to date on like the latest things in this case, but
Okay, well, you guys are gonna have to tell us who you think DB Cooper really was.
yeah.
and what really happened to him. Because there are definitely people who think that he jumped out of that plane and just like splat on the ground. And the reason they found the money is because a bear dragged him all over town and
Yeah.
made a McMeal out of him and just left the money there to rot. But there are also people who think he did it on purpose to lead him off the trail so they would think he was dead.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the thing about it that's super wacky that I mean, there's a lot of things about it that are super wacky, but the place that he jumped out of, like when he jumped out of the plane, which took a lot of balls, by the way, because he doesn't like he asked for a parachute. They could have given him a spare tire. He wouldn't have known until he pulled the string.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have known until he pulled the string. But it was in the woods. It was in the
Yeah.
Pacific, like
At
Northwest,
nights too.
at night, where
Yeah.
he couldn't see where he was dropping down into, and he had to have been familiar enough with jumping out of airplanes in the dark that he could do that with any confidence whatsoever, which is another reason I thought maybe he was in the military, or else he was just like one of those people, like who's like people who will either become supervillains or like leaders of the free world because they have no fear. They don't think about the consequences of what they're doing until they're doing it. I like to imagine there was a moment where DB Cooper was there with the bags in his hand and the cargo bay was open and he's looking out into the black howling abyss and he's like, fuck. this
Well, I like to imagine him because the sketch is always him in sunglasses, so I like to imagine him also wearing sunglasses while
while
he
he
jumps.
right. Yeah, no, but like there almost had to have been someone else there to like find him. Otherwise, how would he have gotten out of the wilderness? Like there
And
was
I
always
mean, it's not very. It's a big area, and it's not
yeah,
like he had a GPS or something.
yeah.
So he's kind of like really randomly landing somewhere.
Yeah, he was eyeballing it in
Yeah,
the dark.
right.
In the
With his
dark.
sunglasses on. Yeah.
With his sunglasses on in the Pacific Northwest, which from a certain altitude is just bunches and bunches of like kebab sticks, like just huge pine trees. Like
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't.
yeah, and like if you somehow manage to avoid all of those, every branch that you could get caught up on, it's still the Pacific Northwest. You got bears, cougars, bobcats, wolverines, Bigfoot, like
Yeah.
anything could happen to you out there. It's rough terrain. He was in the middle of no place. Like he would have had to have some pretty like intense confidence in himself to pull that off, even if he was somebody who had that kind of expertise. But likely there was somebody who had to have helped him. I don't see how he could have pulled it off by himself. But maybe he did. Maybe DB Cooper was just that fucking guy. I just mostly when people pull off a caper like that, they pull off that kind of caper and they ultimately get caught because they tell somebody. They
Yeah.
cannot resist the temptation of being like, you won't believe the shit that I just pulled off. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, one time I jumped out of a plane with $200,000 and a fake bomb.
Yeah. Yeah. Most people brag to somebody.
Mm.
I love. It's such a crazy plan. Like I'm just imagining him being like, let's see, what am I gonna do? I don't want to work. I want to make some money. So number one, rob a bank. Nah, I'm just gonna jump out. I'm gonna hijack an airplane and then parachute out of it with money that I requested.
Andrew just yelled at us from the studio booth that the reason why that all went down is because DB Cooper is Bigfoot. And maybe he needed that 200 grand to like get Wi-Fi out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, I don't know. You know what? For a long time, I believed that DB Cooper must be dead because there'd be no way that he could have lived his whole life without telling anybody that he did that. And not only is there like nobody's been caught for doing that, there's not even any like legend, as far as I know, of anybody who went to prison for something else who like confessed to their cellmate that they were the guy who did the DB Cooper job. Nothing at all. I was like, he had to be dead. He would have told somebody. Until I found out that Elvira has been living with a woman for 20 years.
Yeah.
For 20 years.
Yeah.
And that woman woke up every single day and somehow didn't tell anybody
Yeah.
that she was sleeping with Elvira. So,
Hey, my girlfriend's one of the sexiest women in the world, by the way. Just
yeah,
want to
by
brag
the
about
way,
that a little bit.
just wanted to tell you guys what couples retreat? No, thanks. I'll be staying home this weekend. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
not a word to anyone. There's no fucking. If she could keep that secret for 20 years, then DB Cooper could, like, whatever. He's probably in Pismo Beach, just like living that life. I'm proud of him. I'm proud of him. And he didn't hurt anybody. Nobody got hurt in DB Cooper's caver. Like, everybody
No,
was
no, not at
fine.
all. Yeah.
Everybody was fine. The bomb probably wasn't real, right? Like,
Yeah, I
he,
don't think so. I think that was, something that he just like made a fake bomb just to. He seemed like he was kind of a gentleman about it. He wasn't like
they said
aggressive.
that. They said he was polite. They
Yeah.
said he was very polite
Yeah.
and nice. And that's almost creepier, though. Someone's like, "Excuse me, miss, I hate to bother you, but I do have a bomb, if that's not too much trouble." Yeah, that would almost be creepier. But yeah, they said he was super cool, and he was super cool. That DB Cooper, what a sweet guy. But like the whole time, just like never broke a sweat, never lost his shit, never got aggressive. He was just like, "This is what we're doing tonight, kids.
Yeah.
Just so you know." Where did the $200,000 come from?
That was his like ransom demand. So they flew back to the airport. They refueled the plane. They very quickly got the $200,000 in cash from, I don't know, the government or
Yeah,
the police or something.
sure, sure.
I mean, they complied with everything he asked of them. And
Right.
then all of a sudden they noticed that the cargo door had opened, and sure enough, he was gone.
I think it's one of those things where, like, our culture is a lot different now than it was 50 years ago too. But
Yeah.
like, we got this whole like, we will not negotiate with terrorists kind of thing, because if you do that, then you're just telling other people that they can pull the same shenanigans, and we'll give them what they want too. But I almost wonder at that point if they're like, it doesn't matter. No one's ever going to try this ever again. This is just this one wacky guy. Let's just give him his money, a peanut butter sandwich, tell him to get the fuck out of here. You never get away with that now. You couldn't. They'd have trackers all over you and
Yeah.
satellites. And if they didn't just SWAT team your ass down and just take the stewardess with you, because like that's how they roll these days. Like, fuck that stewardess, I guess. Yeah, never would get away with it these days. It was so much easier to do crimes back in the day.
Yeah.
It's really just too bad.
No
Yeah, your
security
Ted,
cameras.
right?
Like I said, all you got to do is sign your name on a list to get on an airplane. There's no
Right.
security check.
Right. No computer databases. Like, we talk about Ted Bundy from time to time, how he just like, whatever. Ted Bundy was a douchebag, but like the fact that he just sat in court and they were like, "Who are you?" And he was like,
Hmm.
"Who are you?" Like, he just wouldn't tell them what his name was. He just sat there in jail and was like, "You'll never catch me. I'm just not going to tell you who I am." Like,
Right. Yeah.
amazing,
Yeah. And
amazing.
also, he like happened to jump out a window and escape from the prison. So
Yeah.
I'm sure they're like, you know what? Let's lock the windows from now on.
Right. But like, live and learn. Live and learn. We lost a serial killer, and that's now we do this other thing. We have new procedures now. That's fine. Yeah, that's wild. Well, here's to DB Cooper. I hope he's out there somewhere having a gin and tonic.
Oh, Ray has the answer to where the money came from. It was the FBI.
The
So
FBI gave him the money?
yeah, while they were flying back to the airport, those they didn't like land and take off right away. Like they sat on the runway for a while, they refueled, they waited for the money, and then they took off.
Wow.
So it's an incredible story. So
Huh.
cheers to you, DB Cooper, wherever you are.
Yeah. Job well
Um,
done.
Here's what I think is probably the crazy story of the week. You sent me a link to this. Let's just read. Wait, let me read the headline, and then I'm going to read one more short thing, and then I'm going to ask you a question. Here's the headline: a Christian author claimed on TV that a reptilian creature posing as her husband tried to have sexual relations with her until Jesus intervened. I also love this author like tried to explain this story on Twitter, and here's how he explained it. End Times preacher Sharon Gilbert says that an alien imitated her husband, and then it tried to have sex with her, and then it claimed it to be Xerxes, and then Jesus got involved, and then the alien turned out to be a reptile with a posse of gargoyles. Wow.
Yeah, that's a Saturday night for you.
And this author was telling this experience on the Jim Baker show. Heidi, tell us who Jim Baker is, because some people
uh,
might not know.
okay, so okay. Um, I'd like to point out first the Jim Baker show is as old as I am. That Jim Baker show's been on for like a super duper long time. Once upon a time in the 80s, I know you can hardly fathom it or whatever. Televangelists were having a moment, like a serious moment. Um, they were hugely influential. There weren't like talking heads and pundits the way there are now back in the day that influenced like evangelical right wing politics. The people that really influenced that were people like Jim Baker. Jim Baker famously, and his wife Tammy Faye Baker, famously went to prison. I'm pretty sure old Jim Baker did at one point in time
Hmm.
because he was embezzling all kinds of money because people would send him money to. It's ridiculous. If you watch one of those shows, even now, they'll be like, "We'll pray for you this much if you send us $20. We'll pray for you this much if you send us $100. We'll pray for you this much." You know what I mean? Like there's like layers of what you can get the premium package of like, and you just are gonna have to hope that this guy has like the red line right to Jesus Christ or whatever. Um, to keep this viewership going, they brought on the most outrageous guests. People who definitely, absolutely, 100% believed that the president recently, they thought that President Trump was like the second coming of the Lord God. They definitely made that implication on the show
Yeah.
that the devil was working through rock music. Like all the crazy
Yeah.
evangelical like conspiracy theories you hear of have had their moment and day on the Jim Baker show. Um, yep, that's a really real thing. And they were hugely influential even after these people went to jail for embezzling because they're churches technically, which means they're tax exempt organizations, but they're bringing in millions and millions of dollars, and of course, Jim Baker was using them to buy jets and probably hookers and homes all over the country. And old Tammy Faye, dude, Tammy Faye never walked out of her bedroom with less than $50 for the pancake makeup on her face. That's what she was famous for.
Yeah.
Furs and jewels and all this other kind of shit. And that still happens now, which is why. What's the name of that? Joel Olstein, right?
Yeah.
He's the big mega
Yeah.
super preacher now.
Yeah.
It's always confusing to me because I'm like, this has been done, and you
Yeah.
guys,
I was gonna say they were kind of, I don't know if they were necessarily the very first, but they certainly were one of the early like prosperity gospel, like,
right,
send us your money, you're gonna make money too because we're gonna pray for
right,
you. And they
right.
were they were one of the first like famous, you know uh in that style of TV evangelicist.
Right, but if you ever are in a place where you look at like the super far extreme right wing people, like the evangelical right, the places where like extreme, like mythological levels, supernatural levels of religion, are influencing policy and things like that. If you go back any distance, you will find these televangelists. The world that did not just now become crazy, like QAnon, did not just spring
Mm.
forth from the void. These people have been saying this wacky shit for 40 years, like
Yeah.
for 40 years.
uh,
And it's,
and like you say, they were part of like the satanic panic, which we've talked about on the show,
Mhm.
because they were very much hyping up that there's hundreds of Satanists everywhere that are murdering babies. And yeah,
Right,
that's definitely a predecessor to QAnon belief.
right. And you have to keep that in mind with like prosperity gospel in particular. If you do any like investigation into it, just the name of it, the idea is that if you're rich, if you have lots of money, it's because God likes you, and ergo you're blessed by God, and ergo holy or whatever. Which means rich people can't do anything wrong. Like that's literally the basis of it.
Which is totally flies in the face of the Bible. I mean, there's a
Yeah.
Bible verse that says, it's the famous verse is, it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than it
Mhm.
is for a rich person to get into heaven.
Right. And Jesus was just a barefoot hippie guy, like
Yeah.
who definitely didn't live in a palace. There's all kinds of things in the Bible that are specifically against aspiring to have lots and lots of money and lots of things, especially at the expense of your neighbor. Like that's naughty. You don't do that. JC don't like it. But this is what it's become, is this offshoot that has some vague basis in Christianity. And the big thing that they do to keep people engaged and involved, because they can't just keep on reading out of the same goddamn book for 40 years and expect people are going to keep tuning in, is the sensationalism. And the sensationalism works the best when their followers have something to be afraid of. Like, this is a key manipulation technique. If ever you're involved in a situation where people are like, you need to kick it with us because if you don't, there are powers beyond your control that will destroy you. There's a conspiracy. Other people don't know about it. They're gonna call you crazy. But like the devil, which is like the biggest baddie, right? The biggest baddie, the devil, he's out there. So all the time, they're promoting like specifically what this woman was talking about, which is that a lizard jumped out of her husband and tried to fuck her. Um, I know it seems weird. It seems weird that it would be that specific, but it totally is. The lizard people, the whole lizard people thing. It's funny, but it super isn't. It is a reference to like the serpent, which is a reference to like that ancient evil in the Bible that was the serpent in the Garden of Eden. Like the whole thing about reptiles running the US government doesn't come from shady UFO stuff, although there are reptilians in UFO lore, that's real life.
Yeah.
Specifically, the reptilians that run the government, that's biblical. That comes from these evangelicals who've been talking about lizard people for time out of mind. So her whole shit was. And I highly encourage you. It's posted on the T's Weird Week Facebook page, and we'll put a link in this when we post it up. But
Yeah.
watch the interview. I think you should. I think you should always watch those interviews. You can tell absolutely that this woman has told this story at many cocktail parties because she is smiling through the entire thing as though she's in the middle of a Tupperware party presentation. You can also tell there are several points where she's just spinning it out of her ass 100%, like just pulling it out of no place. But the thrust of it, if you will, is that she was laying in bed next to her husband when they were first married, and her husband was laying there, and this guy that looked just like her husband sat up out of her husband, and she said she could tell that he wanted to fornicate. How?
Right. As a horny lizard, yeah.
How? Because she said he just sat up and said, "I'm your husband." How did she know? I would like those details. Like,
It was probably just her husband, and he like sat up and he was like
trying
making a tongue thing at her, like
right? She was like, "What the hell is that?"
like, oh, lizard. I don't understand
No.
though. Here's the thing that really puzzles me. What's up with these gargoyles? Were these gargoyles like sitting there like watching the lizard
Yeah,
trying to have sex with her? Like,
yeah. In the clip that we saw, keep you in mind, this just happened. This was just on the Baker Show. Like this wasn't
yeah.
from the 1980s. But if
No, it
you,
was from like yesterday or
it was like
recently.
yesterday. But if you didn't know and you turned this on, you would 100% thought it was like
Yeah,
a clip out of a Ghostbusters movie. It was fucking ridiculous.
yeah, yeah.
Um, I feel like, first of all, a couple things. I feel really bad for her husband because what if he was just trying to keep it spicy? You
Yeah,
know,
right,
she's
exactly. That's what I'm saying. He was trying to like maybe role play that he was an animal or
right.
something.
She's kink shaming him on live television. Rude. So rude. Also, though, but he sits up and is like, "Hey, baby, like, I'm a lizard man from outer space." Um, and she was like, "No, stop. I have to put my special underpants on. If you were really my husband, you'd know that I don't have sex unless my eyes are closed and my hands are tied." Um, and that all happened. And then she said, no, really, who are you? And he said, I'm Xerxes.
Right.
She originally said another name that I think was supposed to be like the name of a demon or something. I don't know. I'm not really into geodetic stuff. That's not my bag, but like some demon. And then, but also Xerxes, the famous Persian king, like in that movie 300. Like, I don't know how he got involved in all this shit. Like, she literally said, like, the Persian king. I was like, what does he have to do with anything? Is there a biblical reference? I don't know. I don't know. I'm not learned enough. But then she was like, nah. And he was like, yeah, want to do it? And she was like, what? No, absolutely no. I'm not going with you. I'm not. She said, going with you. I was like, okay. Was he trying to get busy or was he trying to take you on his spaceship? Like your story is fluctuating here. Tell me what's going on. And then she said, she put her hand on his face and said, you're a liar and Jesus is like the master or whatever. And then she said, and then I pulled that face off, and under that face was a serpent, was a reptilian. And I was like, first of all, what I was advertised was a threesome between you and Jesus and an alien, and that is not what I got. And I am very upset. False advertising. I would demand at least 25% back. Not the whole thing, because it's still a good story, but 25% I want back. So she invited Jesus into the room, just like invoking him. He didn't actually show up and kick this guy's ass or anything. And then she said halflings, which threw me a little bit because I was like,
Halflings.
there was hobbits there? That's fucking crazy. This is the spiciest fucking party I ever heard.
Yeah. Right.
Did she? What, really? Hobbits? And she said, no, I don't know how to describe them. I guess like little gargoyles. And I was like, oh, go on. Like,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But the clip cuts off about at that point of the story. My favorite part of the whole story is the two dudes who's sitting right next to her, who are just discussing this like it's the daily news.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
like she's giving them her recipe for like baked mac and cheese. Like, yeah, absolutely. We've all had that, right, Joe? We've had that, right? Where
Gargoyles, reptilian.
gargoyles, reptilian, lizard sex. Yeah, twice a day at least. And of course, it was like she made some reference to they were talking about the reptiles that run the government and how this is just proof that they're trying to pull you away from God, etc., etc., etc. It was gold.
It says that she's a Christian author. I'm slightly tempted to read her book.
Oh yeah,
However, when I worked on like American Madness, I really burnt myself out reading shit like that. I was
yeah.
like, dude, I can't take it. I can't take any more of this. It's too. I mean, usually these people are not great writers to begin with.
You
And
know
then
what?
there's like all this like unbelievably like just straight up kooky shit.
I
So
tell you what,
kind
T,
of tempted.
I'll make a deal with you. How about
Yeah.
this? Because we're always trying to think of new content, right? You guys,
Yeah.
because we love you and we want you to be like wildly entertained by the fall of Western civilization. I tell you what, you send me some of those like books that like totally burnt your brain out, and what I'll do is I'll post for our YouTube channel me reading those passages as though it were poorly written fan erotica. I'll just like I'll put on lizard makeup and I will just read it. I think I can make it work. I really do. I don't know if you've watched a lot of porn lately, but like most of it's pretty badly written. And I think this at least has a plot. I
It's
think
got a very
that,
interesting plot, yeah.
yeah, totally. And we'll just pretend that every conspiracy theory, like super right wing evangelical book is just like the prologue for this just ridiculous like porn scene that she's setting up where she's having a threesome with Jesus and a lizard and apparently a bunch of hobbits. I'll write that scene.
Or gargoyles, yeah.
Yeah, or
And
gargoyles. Or gargoyles. I'll write it.
well, let me say one more thing about Jim Baker. I have seen clips of his show over the last couple of years. He's still at it. He's still trying to make money. And he does it in this very alarmist way where,
Oh
one
yeah.
of the things he tries to sell is he's always talking about how the end is nigh. And so he tries to sell like these slop buckets full of like,
Right.
what are they called? Meals ready MREs,
Yep.
like the dehydrated meals. So
The
he's always like,
original prepper.
the end is near. You got to buy this bucket for $75.99, and it's got free shipping.
Yeah.
And also during COVID, I remember he got in trouble. I mean, I think he was just warned, like he didn't get in legal trouble, but he was trying to sell like a magical cure to COVID on his show. He had like
Sure.
some, what was it called? Colloidal silver or something like that he was
Sure.
selling. So,
Sure.
but here's an interesting story that my eyeballs fell upon. Maybe Jim Baker should be trying to sell like Rogaine, because there's an article from the Atlantic. Here's the title of this article. It's the year America's hair fell out. The
Yeah.
pandemic has been a near perfect mass hair loss event. I was like, what? I didn't
Yeah.
really even think about that, but it makes total
Yeah.
sense. People are
I,
stressed out, and when you're stressed out, hair loss is
yeah.
a thing.
I thought it was a metaphor. It's super
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
It's super not. They're like, yeah, no, everybody's hair literally fell out. Like we were so all collectively so stressed out that the
Yeah.
hair done fell straight out our heads.
Yeah,
Like,
here
yeah.
I'll read a short paragraph from this article that I found very interesting. It says, but one type of loss is responsible for the pandemic hair loss spike. Telogen effluvium, TE as it's often called, is sudden and can be dramatic. It's caused by the ordinary traumas of human existence in all of their hideous variety. Any kind of intense physical or emotional stress can push as much as 70% of your hair into the
Whoa.
telogen phase of its growth cycle, which halts those strands' growth and disconnects them from their blood supply in order to conserve resources for more essential bodily processes.
That makes
That,
sense.
in time, knocks them straight off of your head.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's saying that there has been a huge increase in people losing hair. So,
Wow.
you know,
Wow. How come whenever you lose hair, it's always like the hair on your head? And like I don't ever wake up in the morning and just like my Sasquatch legs are just smooth as a veal cutlet. That's what I would like. But no, no, no. Yeah, I've heard that. I think it aged all of us in a lot of ways. Like I feel like a lot of people came out on the other side of this year just looking tired, looking haggard. Like
yeah.
it was stressful, and like that's what happens to the human body when it's under stress. Your hair falls out, you lose collagen, you get wrinkles. That's why that happens too. And like it just is gonna mess you up. And that's if you're lucky. And that's if you're lucky. And other horrible things that stress causes don't happen to you. I wonder why. I wonder if that's why like all through COVID, I felt like I saw an unreasonable number of advertisements for the tub mushroom, like that little thing you stick in the plug to pull the hairs out of there.
Oh, okay.
Like it was
Yeah.
everywhere. I wonder if that's why. I wonder if that's what it was
They're
about.
like, it's our time to shine. We're gonna make a killing selling
Yeah.
drain stoppers.
Yeah. Like I thought it was really cute that like when Donald Trump was president, it suddenly became very fashionable for people to have silver hair, like younger people to have silver hair, like silver. And I'm like, yeah, that's because shit is aging us, dude. I put on 10 years over that presidency. No shit. Absolutely no doubt in my mind.
Well, this shit keeps going on. A couple of years from now, everyone's just gonna be bald. It's gonna be
Yeah,
this the most common thing. Everyone's just gonna be totally bald.
that's fine. We'll be really fast. We'll be really
Fast swimmers.
we'll be really fast swimmers. We'll be more aerodynamic. That's beautiful. It's just a part of our slow evolution into the gray aliens that are actually space travelers from the future who are coming back to visit us and warn us about our past.
Oh, yeah.
It's one
That
of my
does
favorite
fit into
alien
that
theories.
theories. Yeah.
I
That
love
makes
that.
sense. Yeah.
Yep, I love that for us. I really, really do. Like that theory that human beings are slowly losing their pinky fingers, and that in the next like 10,000 years we will only have three fingers and a thumb.
Yeah, and our thumbs
just
will
like
be
aliens.
super big because everyone's texting all the time on their
right,
phones. So, right. So
right.
we'll have fewer fingers, but we'll have more alien-like fingers to
Yeah, exactly.
use our phones.
Exactly. It's about
Wow.
efficiency. It's about having fingers that are efficient. Not it's quality, not quantity for digits for sure. But yeah, we're all just slowly turning into all of our worst nightmares. Is what
Into
that
gray
comes to.
aliens. Well, I
The
thought
gray
this
aliens,
theory was kind of ridiculous. Now it makes total sense.
right? You're welcome. I want to talk about the robot thing before we go because I love
Yeah,
this
yeah,
story.
absolutely. This is a great story. And like how you said, we got a Tease Weird Week Facebook group you can join.
You should.
I just posted this today and people are reacting to it. Um, so I'm interested what people's opinion on this is if they would do it. Here's the headline on this one. Robot company will pay $200,000 for your face if it's friendly enough and they're using your image on a robot. Um, Here's their specific offer: seeking a face for a humanoid robot assistant, which will work in hotels, shopping malls, and other crowded places. The company is ready to pay out $200,000 to somebody willing to transfer the rights to use one's face forever.
Okay, there's so many things wrong with this. On the surface, it seems great. We're talking about a guy who fucking jumped out of a plane in the dark in the woods for $200,000. This
Yeah,
seems
yeah,
like a relatively small price to like not that bad for two. First of all, $200,000 is nothing. That's not, you can't even buy a condo for $200,000, you guys. It's not that much money. And in exchange for that, I need people to understand, first of all, you don't get to use your own face for anything ever after that. The company owns the right to your face. They should have to pay you at least enough for you to get enough plastic surgery for you to be legally allowed to use your own face after that. Because like otherwise they own your face. Also, what they want to use these robots for is to be like the generic customer service person everywhere, but also like security who's doing like facial recognition and like keeping an eye on people who might be stealing from Walmart and that kind of stuff. And that would mean that your face would be the face of Big Brother literally
yeah,
forever.
yeah,
And you would spend the rest of your life being constantly surrounded by automatons who looked just like you because they'd be everywhere. Like, this is the company that's doing this. Like, they would be everywhere. It would be the baseline. And I just can't, like, $200,000 is not enough. I would have to have enough money to change my face back to something I still owned and move to an island where I didn't ever have to go to an airport, hotel, mall, Walmart, gas station ever, ever again. Because I don't want to be sitting there while like a replica of me is giving me a parking ticket. Like I can't I'm not mentally stable enough for that experience. Just saying. I can't see doing it.
yeah. No, I totally agree. The forever thing is, you know, who knows
Yeah.
in 100 years what they would be using this robot for? Like you could say
Yeah.
it could be something terrible. I'm not cool with that. Here's something about me that's maybe not always a great thing, but I don't care about money like at all. Like you know, sure, it'd be nice to have some, but that's not impressive to me. If someone's like, "We're gonna give you $200,000 so we can own your face," I'm like, I don't want the money.
Yeah, but that's the thing is like it's not a big deal to be rich. I mean, it seems like it would be fun to do that. I'd certainly be better at it than most people who are rich who've never even bought a monster truck. I'm like, you're dumb. But what the problem is, especially with like a relatively small amount of money, like $200,000. Now, let's not beat around the bush. $200,000 landed in my lap right now. That would change my life. That would be a big, huge deal.
Sure.
Most people who would do something like that for $200,000 are not people who would end up rich from $200,000. They would maybe pay off their student loan debt and have the privilege of starting at zero.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, they would
Or
maybe,
I was just watching this documentary about like sports scandals, which was super interesting, even though I'm not really interested in sports. But like these basketball players were rigging games so they would like win by like 6 points, and
sure.
they were being paid like $10,000, $20,000. Well, they were poor, so they spent all of that money in like 2 weeks. They bought
Yeah,
cars, they bought stuff for their friends, they had a good time. That money is, like you say, it's a lot of money. $200,000 would be very helpful in my life right now,
right.
but it's not going to last you forever.
No,
And this stupid robot is going to last forever.
like forever, ever, like your kids and grandkids forever, ever, like forever, ever, ever. Like if humanity got wiped off the planet and aliens visited the smoldering ember that was once our home,
Yeah.
perhaps the only remnant that humans ever lived would be your face stuck to the robot that took orders at fucking Wendy's. And that is creepy. I
Yeah.
would need more money than that, way more money than that. And yeah, no, that's not, nope, 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 I'll pass. Plus, there's that whole thing too that's like the fear of AI. And like make no mistake, to these robots, the whole point of them is that they are super advanced AI. They're supposed to be able to interact with human beings and respond quickly and organically as though you were speaking to a human. That's why they want a friendly face. They said that too, that the face had to be friendly.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Like how I can only have two eyes. If I have three eyes, it's not friendly anymore. I'm done. Like I don't understand. Um, but like, I
They want a
like,
friendly face so it's easier to deceive people, I think.
yeah, could be. And like, there's no guarantee. And this sounds like a conspiracy theory, but the people who work on AI, the scientists who work on robotic intelligence, are the first people to say, we do not actually have control over this. Robots will be better at independent thinking, faster, more capable of deception for sure than human beings. Like in 10 years, we will have no control over this situation if it continues to escalate the way that it does, because they just kept on pushing and pushing and pushing. And now there's a thing called quantum computing, which is a computer that can do like a trillion calculations in a fraction of a second. It is scary to me that they're trying to put a human face on this. I don't like that. I like you're giving something a burgeoning consciousness without any sense of morality, because they don't know how to program morality, because morality is subjective. But they're giving it access to all the information in the world and the capacity to develop an independent personality and self-awareness. And then they want to put your neighbor Bill's face right on it, smack, so that you don't like feel uncomfortable with that. And I do. I do feel uncomfortable with that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just me, but I
No,
do.
no, totally, totally. Okay, well, we're about out of time, but before we go, there's a couple events coming up very
Mm.
quickly here.
Yep.
Uh, why don't you tell us what's going on Saturday?
On Saturday at the delectable Falklandia Brewing in St. Francis, there's going to be the Witches Wonderland, which is going to be a Yule fair, which will be fabulous. There'll be card readers there. There's going to be a bunch of vendors selling crystals and spirit boards and beautiful pieces of art. There's a sculptor there who sculpted like welded giant metal dragons and gargoyles that are going to be available for sale. There's going to be all kinds of great stuff, plus cool food and drink specials from the kids at Falklandia. It's from noon to 6 on Saturday, the 27th. It's indoors too. It's going to be warm and toasty.
Nice. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to be there. We also have coming up next weekend already, December 5th, Milwaukee Krampusnacht. It's become a favorite for many people in the Milwaukee area and beyond. Some people come from other parts of the Midwest to go to this.
Yeah, it's great.
And we're going to have some live music. There is a vendor floor with a lot of original crafts, art and crafts. There's a kids Krampus hour. We still have some tickets for that. The kids make their own Krampus mask, and then they have a Kinder Krampus parade where they walk around the building, like trying to scare the adults.
Cute little monsters.
And then we have the adult Krampus parade is at 7, which is always super fun. We got like somewhere between 50 and 70 people who are wearing costumes.
They're good costumes too. Those
yeah.
Krampus costumes are amazing. They're
Yeah,
they're so compelling and realistic. I think we were talking to one of the kids from Milwaukee Krampus, and they were saying just the mask by itself can cost $1,000 to put together. Like they're very impressive. There's one guy who his costume includes stilts, like he's huge and giant on stilts. Yeah, amazing. Plus the puppet choir.
So there's going to be an outdoor bar. The parade goes into the beer garden area of the Bavarian Beer House, which is where the event is, and it's going to be an outdoor bar setup. We're going to have DJ 10-foot tall Krampus is maybe a puppet, not a real person, and you're going to be hearing the Tease Weird Week Radio Krampus special live at the event, because that's what the DJ is spinning, is the episode pretty much. And food and drink, of course, from the Bavarian Beer House. I feel like I'm missing something from the event, but there's a lot of cool little stuff going on all over the place there. And it's just a really fun time, it's like a no pressure holiday event.
It's very
just enjoy the company of other people who love creepy, cool stuff. And it's just all about having fun.
Yeah, it's nice. I like Krampus, I really do. It's very festive. And it's very weird, and it's not that. The thing is, it's actually a very traditional Christmas thing to do. It's a very traditional holiday thing to do, because Krampus comes from a very old tradition in Bavaria, but it's not. It's not your mother-in-law's super dry ham and trying not to talk to your uncle about his racist politics. It's
exactly.
Yep, you don't have to buy anybody a present. You just show up, have a beer, watch people dress like Krampus. That's it.
Yeah. So if you want more information on that, by the way, it's produced by the Milwaukee Paranormal Conference. So if you go to MilwaukeeParacon.com, you'll see a tab for a page called Milwaukee Krampusnacht 2021. It's got all the information, the band lineup, ticket link, and all that stuff. So hope to see you there. And thanks for listening to Tease Weird Week, Season 3. It's been great. And we'll be back soon.
We'll be back soon.
After we recover from some of these winter events, we'll be back.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.
All right, everyone. Have a good one.
Did he just leave us?
He was like, deuces.
Bye, everybody. Oh, there he is.
Yeah. Oh, wait. We're still live in broadcast.
He gave us the old...